That's right, I'm here, baby. I'm here. The Xbox Defense Force is in full effect, even though I don't own an Xbox, don't really care about Xbox, and I basically just crap over every company that tries to be anti-consumer in every sense of the word, whether it's Nvidia, AMD, Intel, Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, Epic Games, Valve. It doesn't matter. If you do things against the consumer, this brown-eyed, never skips leg day himbo is going to be right there to call that company out. But the thing is, we're going to talk more about what happened yesterday. You see, the other day I put out a video talking about Game Pass and the cannibalization of game sales and how horrible it is to rent games and not buy them. And I wanted to expand more about that today. You see, the thing is, I put out a tweet the other day and it said something like this. The conversation about Game Pass cannibalizing sales is absolutely ridiculous. PC gamers have seen the benefits of both. I have Game Pass for games I would have never played or bought, and Steam and GOG for games that go on sale. Some of y'all care too much about corpos, and it's sickening. Now that tweet is pretty much self-explanatory. I'm someone that doesn't like to spend a lot of money on basically anything. If I could save $1, I absolutely 100% will. But the responses to that tweet have been astronomically insane. Everything from people telling me like, oh, Game Pass cannibalizes sales. You're wrong. Even though that wasn't the point of my tweet at all, because nobody read past the first sentence who replied to that tweet. Or things like, here comes the Xbox grifter, ready to grift for Xbox once again. Yeah, even though I wasn't grifting for Xbox either. I was merely talking about it from a consumer perspective, that caring about game sales makes honestly no sense if you're literally just someone trying to play video games. This is more of a conversation for Twitter, when the people on Twitter talking about this only play 2 games specifically. Yeah, their favorite games are in fact the games console sales and Twitter. That's pretty much all they ever play and all they ever want to play. And really, going around and talking about game sales makes everything, honestly, really stupid, because who would even care about that in the first place? I can't believe my community got me this hat. This is really just... I hate you guys so much. I really do. So as you can see here, everybody literally melting down, writing complete articles about my tweet, trying to show as much evidence as they possibly can that I'm in fact wrong again on the internet, my boys, about Xbox, and you're just an Xbox defender. Truly goes to show that nobody honestly knows what they're in fact talking about or what I was even trying to say. The point that was... Oh my God, what was that? The point I'm trying to make isn't about whether or not game sales are cannibalized from Game Pass. The point I'm trying to make is the conversation around that actual aspect is the part that's ridiculous. Sitting here as a consumer of a product and walking around talking about, well, the thing is, if you don't buy the game, then you can't support the dev. And if you don't support the dev, then they can't make more games. And if you don't support the dev and buy more products, then they can't make more products for you to buy. Consume, consume, consume. That's really pretty much everything that we've been seeing. And that's one talking point I really want to debunk, is this whole like support the devs kind of thing, because really, no one is supporting the devs by the money that they're actually paying for video games. What they're doing is they're supporting the publisher to go ahead and fire those devs. Don't believe me? You see, back in 2023, the gaming industry fired over 10,500 people from their job. And then in 2024, an extra 14,600 developers were also lost in that same year. In fact, now it's 2025, and how much have we lost already? This is a website called gaminglayoffs.com, and it keeps a running tally of all the times a company or corporation in the gaming industry lays off individual employees. It turns out that the latest studio to fire people has been Respawn Entertainment, so it's been 0 days since the last gaming industry layoff. On top of the actual fact that there have been almost 25,000 people in the gaming industry fired from 2023 to 2025, the current tally this year so far in our current year is 1,900 2,920. That brings the total up to almost 27,000 people fired in almost 2.5 years in the gaming industry. So my question to you or anyone defending the whole support the devs moniker is this: did you buy enough of your video games the last 3 years? I hope you did, because apparently it wasn't enough. 26,000 people have already been fired, and I'm honestly going to bet that many more will be impacted as well. In fact, Respawn Entertainment fired 300 to 400 people just yesterday because they're trying to focus more on other aspects in EA as well. So yes, the firings will continue until morale improves. And even though people can say, well, Alex, EA released Dragon Age The Failguard and all these other games, what do you expect to happen with that company, right? Well, apparently Jeff Grubb posted this yesterday as well. The Steve Fukuda project is in the bin, laying off a ton of people. There is no Titanfall 3, as this should make clear. I don't think people realize just how much EA Football Club and Apex Legends missed last year. Dragon Age isn't even a factor compared to those two. So we're seeing games that are heavily monetized with microtransactions and even multiple sales miss their specific targets, causing these same companies to go ahead and start laying everybody off. Pretty much basically saying that no matter how much money you're going to be dumping into this company or this corporation or this industry, it's never going to be enough for these corpos. So again, this conversation of Game Pass is cannibalizing sales honestly is ridiculous when you see game companies like EA and etc. still lay off tons of people, even though games are making millions of dollars, dare I even say billions, hand over fist every single quarter, because the line has to perpetually and extensively go up every single time. This is not an issue about buy your game, support the devs. This is a cope that people are using to try and make themselves feel better about spending more money on a video game when they in fact don't need to. Do not let corporations bully you as a consumer into going around and spending more money on a product simply because they want to give you the best feeling or the reassurance that they won't fire their dev team, even though they in fact will fire them again and again and again every around November, December. Kind of weird how it always happens at that time, right before the holidays, before the end of the fiscal year. But you see, I'm not the only one that in fact noticed this directly. Not only are we talking about game sales being cannibalized by Game Pass, which we don't even know the actual percentage of, not only are we talking about the whole support the devs, which is honestly just a bunch of because you're being fed it and you're trying to satiate yourself in some way about spending more money, we're also seeing it directly not impact games whatsoever. Cole Classy Cage put this tweet out the other day showing this. Quote, Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Quote, PC gamers don't buy games. Shut the up, LMAO. And she posted these Steam charts of Expedition 33 on Steam directly. And this right here is exactly why I wanted to bring up this tweet specifically. You see, Cassie points out a lot of the actual false arguments being made around PC gamers, how we don't buy games or how Game Pass cannibalizes sales, when we're looking directly at Expedition 33 and PC gamers have the direct option to choose where to play this game specifically, whether they want to use PC Game Pass because it is listed there or if they want to buy the game on Steam. And the real differentiator isn't about whether or not Game Pass exists. The differentiator is whether or not your game is in fact good. You see, that's the big difference that nobody honestly sees. Where I spend my money to access a game is honestly irrelevant because I am properly giving my money to the corporation that is giving me the option to choose where I give my money to, whether or not I buy the game directly or I take the Game Pass deal that they put out and they worked out on their own. You see, the devs of Expedition 33 decided to make the deal with Microsoft specifically, and they chose to go onto Game Pass. Apparently the bag for them was enough to go ahead and do that. So they knew that they were going to go ahead and have some sales being lost on PC or even on the Xbox, but it didn't matter because the upfront money being given to them outweighed the actual loss of sales they were going to be facing. So in reality, what is the actual problem? People talk about support the devs. Microsoft is literally supporting the devs by giving them a bag of money to go ahead and finish the game, to put it on their service. And then the last thing you're going to complain about is, well, you didn't buy the game. Well, you don't have to worry about that because even if you have Game Pass, you can still buy the game. Did you guys not realize that? Like, people that have Game Pass can still purchase video games. I don't know if this is like a new thing for you guys to figure out or can't understand for some reason. And it's always the same fanboys bringing this about. Oh, you didn't buy a game. Well, you can if the game is going to leave Game Pass. In fact, Game Pass cuts you a break and a deal and lets you buy the game at a discount if you in fact do have Game Pass active on your services. So it almost incentivizes you like, hey, this game's going to be leaving Game Pass. You're having fun with it. Here's a sale for that game if you want to buy it because you already have our service. Yeah, I'm going to buy that game. So again, what's the problem? This absolutely insane rhetoric of people having to go around and say all these ridiculous things to validate themselves about spending more money on video games truly is the most pathetic thing of all. Again, I'm someone who is more pro-consumer faced than a lot of other people that I know. I would rather have the ability and the option to go ahead and try a game out through a rental service than I would actually spending out $70 out of my hard-earned money on a daily basis to play a game that I don't even know if it's actually going to be in fact good or not. And sure, I could watch a live stream of it, I can watch a let's play of it, I can watch a review of it, but the thing is, unless you go ahead and find those specific people that provide the same kind of like ideas and gameplay perspectives that you have in gaming, that's also going to be a difficult task. How many reviews have you seen from IGN of like 7 out of 10 too much water? Yeah, not the best course of action if you want to ask me. I mean, I could just bring up the God Hand review to this day to talk about how out of touch IGN is for reviewing games, but that's not the point directly. The thing is, all of these arguments being made against a service to play more video games truly are the most moronic ones. And the most insane one that I've honestly seen recently, and the last one, is going to be you own your games. And I'm sorry to break your bubble right now, but the majority of your games you definitely don't own, especially if you buy them digitally. Now, physical, there may be some instances where you have the actual complete game on the disc and you have the 1.0 version and you put that game in and it runs offline, sure. But the thing is, you're also missing possibly tons of patches and or updates that bring the game to an actual playable state. So again, even if you own it physically, do you really even own that product? It's not in the same state it should be like it was back in the 90s and 2000s, where if I go back and grab my PS1 and PS2 games, those games are complete. The way they launch is the way they launch. That's how they're set up. They're not going to change over time. I mean, if you want a perfect example of games getting updates even years after launch, Far Cry 5 got an upgraded patch for consoles in this generation to run at 60 FPS. Far Cry 5! Far Cry 5, yeah, that one just got a patch for Xbox Series X and PS5 to run at 60 FPS, not 120, 60. So even the version of the game that you bought on the disc isn't even updated to what it should be, and you're beholden to an actual box and system until it gets patched in order to actually play the game as it was properly intended, unlike on PC, where you go ahead and have the actual hardware do it for you. There's no restriction or patching needed every time I change out hardware. I'm looking at you, Microsoft, wanting to make me buy another Windows key, even though I already bought one. I'm not going to buy another one, Microsoft. You're not going to make me. You better don't even look in my direction. So this conversation around ownership honestly is irrelevant because, again, if you buy a game digitally, you're not even buying the game itself. You're buying a license to access the game. Ubisoft is being taken to court about this. In fact, they're admitting on their own, hey, you don't own the game, you own a license for that game. And to make things even worse, even Valve, in fact, admitted it recently as well. In the actual purchase screen, as you move over to your shopping cart on Steam, it literally points out, hey, you're not buying this game. You're buying a license to access this game, which means that at any moment in time, these games can be revoked from your library or even from sale or even from anyone directly simply because the publisher or developer or anyone else in that space chooses to do so. You don't own anything. So the point of this entire video is honestly this: you really don't own your games, especially digitally. You're not supporting the devs because they're all getting fired no matter how much money you give the actual companies and corporations. And caring about game sales does nothing for you in the long run. In fact, all it basically does is show how much of a fanboy you are for a company or corporation. We truly don't know the sales being cannibalized by Xbox Game Pass, seeing as how people that maybe can't afford to play as many games as everybody else does, or even have access to as many games, are now being browbeaten on Twitter and the internet because somebody else wants to spend more money and try to flex how much money they spend on a hobby that really is, honestly, in my opinion, way too expensive. But if you want to see more of this kind of content, more of my hot takes in the gaming industry, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 82,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or remote during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. The community is incredibly giving, and they'll make sure you get access to the membership as well. Once you become a member of the Discord, you stay in there for life until you do something dumb and get banned. But with all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time.